How's it going, everybody? Today I picked up this NES lot from Craigslist for $40, and these were the only two pictures in the ad. Obviously we see this tote that's full of games. I had no clue what they were. The guy said that they had been in a barn for the past, 2 decades or something, completely uncovered and exposed to the elements. They are in that tub. They were freezing and getting rained on for however long. I met up with this guy around noon. I had messaged him at 5 in the morning, I happened to wake up and see it. He said by the time I met up with him, he had at least 12 other people asking for it, but he said I messaged him first so he would hook me up. This is the tub that it came in, and these are the cleaning products that I use, so I just thought I'd take you through the process of me cleaning up everything from this barn haul. So let's take a look at this. So one by one, here's everything that it came with. Here's some Nes Dust Sleeves. I mean, you can just see the grime that's been on them. Some of these are the actual licensed ones. Well, they're probably all licensed, but some of them have the Nintendo branding. This is a quick shot, which I didn't have. Here's a gray zapper. I mean, it's just kind of overall filth from being outside, but nothing that should make any of this stuff stop working. This is actually a converter for Atari 5200, so it plays 2600 games. The two Atari games that it came with. Here's the NES. Overall, I mean, it's in pretty good shape. It's just beat. It's just dirty. It's just covered in, schmutz or whatever you would call it. But it has all of its pieces. Here's the games that it came with. These are going to be in varying condition. Mario 2, that's Super Mario Bros. Just covered in schmutz. That Dr. Mario has been baked in the sun forever. Now, a couple of these games down here I had already cleaned up, like this Birthday Blowout and the RoboCop and Kung Fu and Silent Service, before I thought of actually filming this. This Robo Warrior is probably the most on the surface beat of all of these. The copy of DuckTales. There's Gotcha. Mario Duck Hunt, Snake's Revenge, that one's pretty grimy. I only needed in the end a couple of these games, about 5 of them, but I had no clue what they were. Here's Athena. I just bought that game last week for $10. I mean, it's a little baked right there, a little sunburned, but I mean, I would have been ecstatic to get that in the slot if I didn't already pick it up. Dick Tracy, I didn't have that one. So I mean, these are like varying condition. I mean, none of these are cracked, none of these are broken. Legendary Wings has a big sticker across the label. Besides the games, this also came with 6 official NES controllers in varying condition. I mean, besides some scrapes and obviously just covered in junk, everything works fine. This NES Advantage has obviously been written on with a permanent marker, besides being covered in crapola. These docks controllers, I was very interested when I saw them because for one, they came with the receiver, and 2, there was no battery corrosion, and actually 3, they both had their battery covers. There's a case and manual for Sonic 2, but there's no game in there. Here's a copy of the game Genie with the pull tab, and this is one where the pull tab is broken off. And here is a view of everything. This all came in that nice bin for $40. So now we're going to clean it up. Alright, here we see that copy of the Game Genie with the broken off pull tab. One of the things you really want to watch out for when cleaning things, when cleaning games, especially when you're using chemicals, are the labels, because if you use the wrong chemical on the wrong label, it will take the entire thing right off, especially N64 labels, anything that doesn't have that protective coating. Here I just clean the outside, and I'm just using Windex. I primarily clean my cartridges with Windex. And then I clean the contacts with rubbing alcohol, and if that doesn't work, I'll normally take it apart and use an eraser and then the rubbing alcohol. But I'm not trying to make this stuff immaculate. I mean, I don't need all this stuff, so I'm just trying to clean it up, get it working, and trade it off to someone else who's looking for this stuff. Here we have one of those docks PlayStation 1 controllers. I mean, this thing isn't comfortable. And I don't know how good it is. I had a Sega Genesis set of docks controllers, but it didn't come with a receiver from the person I bought it from, so I ended up trading it off It's either a store or someone who was looking for it, because you're never really going to find the receiver, you know, and if you do, it's going to cost twice as much as the controller. I mean, look at Wavebirds, you know, it's like the controller goes for more, or the receiver goes for more than the controller. Out of the two, this is the one of the controllers that had batteries in it, but luckily they didn't corrode. Those batteries were dead anyway, and God knows how old they are. I just tossed them. Luckily, neither of these controllers had any corrosion, which was nice. And it's really nice that it came with its adapter. Here's that copy of Robo Warrior. I mean, it's just covered in gunk. Besides that, I mean, it looks to be in nice shape. Most of the time when you see video games, they'll clean up. There's definitely times when things are discolored. Like I have a copy of Earthbound that the back of the cartridge, or the front, one of the two, is a different color than the other piece. Now, if you notice, I just sprayed that Windex on the cartridge to clean this. Normally when you're working with electronics, you always want to spray it onto the rag and then wipe onto the surface of whatever you're cleaning. You never always want to spray it all willy-nilly, and it gets all over the place, and that's really not the way to do things. The only reason I do that on the crevices is because I cover up the label and I spray it, because it seems like whenever I spray it onto the rag and then try to clean the crevices, it doesn't work as good as just having like a little pool of a cleaning agent in there to kind of loosen it up and then clean it. So that's the only reason why I really do that. But even when I do, I still try to protect the label, and I don't want tons of stuff going on all over there. And one of the things, if you want to remove that permanent marker, you can take a whiteboard marker and run it over there, and it should take it off. Again, like I said before, I'm not trying to make these things immaculate. I mean, the person, whoever I trade this to, can live with it saying Mike on the back. I just want them to be in working order and presentable shape when I trade. And there you have it, a nice looking presentable copy of Robo Warrior. Here we have the NES Advantage. The first thing I do here is I unscrew the ball on the top to clean that. A lot of these old electronics are legitimate tanks. I had my MVS, my Neo Geo MVS arcade system, in a shed in the winter when it was negative 20 degrees at night, and it booted right up in the spring. A lot of this stuff, it's really just built like a tank. I've had very few video games in my life that are cart-based that I could not get to work. Very, very few. I mean, less than half of a dozen. Cleaning out the cracks, cleaning out the crevices. I'm not going to take this stuff apart at this point. Again, I'm just going to try to make it look presentable. And there you have it. I mean, this is probably as good as this Advantage is going to look. Now, this is the copy that probably needed the most TLC, only because it has this sticker over the label. One of the biggest problems with cleaning up cartridges is when you find stickers, because most of these stickers have probably been there for 20 years, 30 years, you know, from being at a rental store or, you know, wherever it happened to end up. It can be very, very difficult to get them off, and you can tear the label if you don't do things right. So one of the things that you're going to notice is I'm not using a hairdryer here, and I do recommend using a hairdryer when you're getting off labels, especially if you're doing it off something that's on an expensive game. When I'm picking this label off, I'm kind of feeling it with my finger as I'm kind of using my nail to get it off. So there's different kinds of stickers. There's the ones that are straight up like there for good and aren't coming off, and there's the ones that really don't have much give. Luckily, this had enough give to where I could feel that I would be able to get it off without having to use a hairdryer. So pretty much the way that I do it is I use my fingernail, little by little. I go from the edges in, and then whenever I can get a big piece, I'll tear it off. I pay particular attention to the label, and then once I can get off the big majority of it is when I'll use Goo Gone, and then I will use that to get the rest off. Like I said before about the different labels, different brands, different carts, they all have different labels. Nintendo and Super Nintendo have a glossy finish over the label, but things like the N64 do not. I tried to clean a copy of Milo's bowling once, and it just took the color right off. Luckily, it was a cheap game, but you do have to watch out because you can really mess this stuff up. So like I said, little by little, I'm feeling this. So I'm not just pulling this willy-nilly, even though it might look like it. I'm kind of feeling it out with my hand. I've done this on tons of games. I've done this for a long time. So I'm not going to do anything that's going to, yank the label off or tear any part of it. Pay particular attention on the edges of the label because that's the easiest way to tear something up or tear it off. Alright, so now as you notice I sprayed it directly onto the rag, the Goo Gone, and now I'm being very careful as I try to just get the rest of this off. Get rid of any more residue and then, I'll be done with the whole thing. You can already see it looks 1,000 times better. Just trying to make it look as good as we can without going crazy. And there it is, label's off, thing looks clean, looks good, it's presentable, looks a hell of a lot better than it did before. Now we're looking at everything after it's been cleaned and dried and taken care of. Here's the sleeves, they look great. Here's that quick shot. I don't know if I said it before, but I didn't have one, so I'm excited to have one. One of the cool things about it is that it has an auto fire. There's the zapper, looks a lot better. Here's the Atari Games cleaned up. They look a lot better. They didn't look good to begin with. They don't look too good now, but they look better than they did before. I couldn't get that spot off. I don't know what was up with it. I scrubbed it. But the rest of it looks great. Even if these don't work, they'll at least boot. And I have a couple extra 72 pin connectors to put in there if need be. Mario 2 looks good. That Mario, actually, after I cleaned it, that's green paint. It actually kind of looks pretty cool because it's like splattered all over it. It's not coming off. The Dr. Mario again up there is toasted. But most of these cleaned up really well. That RoboCop has a lot of permanent marker on it, but believe it or not, that RoboCop copy has less permanent marker on it than the copy that I have, so I'll have to switch it out. Guy Shark just had a straight up tear in the label, so there's nothing I could really do about that. DuckTales looks good, Gotcha cleaned up nice. These are two of the games I need right here, they look fine. World GP and also this Mario Duck Hunt, which has a toast label, they both have that kind of like pimpling going on. I know that's kind of a gross word to use. They have like this pimpling going on in the plastic that there's really no fix for and you can't really clean it up. I've only seen it on a handful of games. I'm not really sure how it happens, if it's a specific batch or like being out in the sun or anything. There's Legendary Wings. Again, looks great. MLB. And here are the Doc's PS1 controllers all cleaned up. Again, I don't know if they're good, but they're there. There's the Advantage. Here are the 6 Nintendo controllers. 2 Game Genies. Everything cleaned up really, really nice. There's a couple of the NES controllers that are a little beat, a little scratched up. They'll work fine, and there's some that look excellent now. There's Sonic 2. I just cleaned the outside of it. Looks fine. I gotta find one of the extra copies of the game. I haven't put it in there. And that PS1 controller, I don't know what to do with it. But here's everything, all cleaned up. And yeah, so that was the $40 NES barn lot that I picked up from Craigslist today. So Thank you for watching, and as always, stay nerdy.